So we mainly do attract a lot of yoga teachers, Pilates teachers, physiotherapists, people that have got movement in their background, like dance or exercise science or PTs. The Yogalates is renowned through the physiotherapy associations, and I think it's because it's been around for a long time. Okay, so core's pretty well everywhere now, but we have been working with it since the year 2000. So it's a long time. And when we're working with physiotherapists, obviously we're sharing a little, so we gain a lot, they gain a lot, and we're always listening to feedback, always trying to stay on top of the latest science and research and bringing that into the understanding of how to approach, how to deliver, how to teach the understanding of breath and core.
Well, I had been a student of Yogalates for about 12 years and I loved it. I thought the technique had integrity and credibility. I thought it was a beautiful, safe practice. And I wanted to spread the word and teach people.
The foundation of Yogalates teacher training is working with breath and the breathing system, how it incorporates our core, and how we can work with breath and core and impart that into the asana. So it's very unique in that it's not about just activating core or navel to spine or those common cues that are used to connect with core. It really is about accessing the breath, working with the pelvic floor, the diaphragm, the deep, true core muscles, and then being able to bring that into the asana in a really subtle and effective way. So Yogalates for me has been more about using the subtle and less about being everything big and profound.
Favourite module is what I call the body type module. So it's very much about discovering and understanding your posture and your body and how that presents onto the mat and through all the different postures and exercises that we work with in life. So I've had students that have trained 10, 15, 20 years ago, and one of the main things that they say to me that they got out of the training was that particular module and understanding their own body, their shape, being able to support their clients when they come to their classes, and it's aided them greatly as they've aged.
I loved the anatomy component. In a previous life, I had been a dance student at university, so I had done anatomy before, and it just really brought back to me the foundation of movement and where that comes from and how it all works. And I find the human body so fascinating. So anatomy for me was my favourite.
For me, learning the special needs component of the teacher training was everything, because not only did I have most of the conditions that were presented in that special needs module, but it's who is walking into every classroom for me. It's who's presented on the mats in front of me. So having that understanding of how different conditions and the pathology of certain needs and how people's bodies can be adapted to poses, or perhaps a complete alternative is required to support the yogi into different asana.
So the special needs module very much supports you in understanding the actual conditions that certain people have, which can be a scoliosis, like an S-bend of the spine. They can have hunching of the shoulders, they can have high blood pressure, just to name a few. There's quite a few out there, unfortunately, these days, but we're very supportive, and the method is very supportive of being able to get people onto the mat.
It can really be adapted to so many different practices and so many different people and bodies. So really giving you options about how to instruct a client, and giving you a good base to come from when you do have your client in front of you. So just really well-rounded. But there is that capacity as well. So if you're working with people with injuries, say physiotherapists, or people with conditions, I think the Yogalates technique is the one.
Something I do notice with teachers who haven't studied the Yogalates method is that when they're presented with students in the classroom that have these conditions, and they are common conditions, when I look at a room of 20 people, there might be 5 or 6 that walk into the room that definitely have some aspect, something to do with their body, that there are modifications or alternative required for them to be comfortable in the asana. Other teacher trainings haven't approached those conditions as the practice, so the asana is seen as one way, whereas with Yogalates we have all these other ways of looking at the asana and how to approach it for the individual. So
the course itself has a very large teacher training module component to it. When I had it registered, we had an extra 20 or 30 hours more than what was standard to have done, and I didn't want to drop any of that. So we very much have a lot of tools in there that we build on in the teacher training module itself to aid you in to be able to stand into the teacher's footprint.
Once I had the moment to sit down and get into it, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was easy to follow. The process was really simple. I loved ticking off all the little boxes, and I knew that I had the support there of the teachers online if I needed it.
I'm a big believer of my method. I've seen it help so many different people on so many different levels, that it forms such a great basis and foundation for any type of training. Even if you're looking at becoming a stronger yoga practitioner, it's very important to understand foundation and knowledge, and that of the body and your clients, to be able to teach them. And one of the things that I do share with my students, that I feel that one of the greatest teacher or greatest teacher that can be, is to be able to teach a beginner how to find their way into the mat and how to develop a practice and how to understand themselves. And what I've learnt and spent many years developing and exploring and working with and still working with is to support people to breathe more at ease. So when I first did my first training, which was obviously over for a year, it helped me on so many different levels. Of myself, I was a young mother at the same time. I was doing a big teacher training as a fairly young person, and I found that it gave me a great foundation of grounding, of strength, of being calm enough to trust and to get to know myself a little better, and to really connect with self and the heart and soul. And when I went into the Pilates room, for me at that time, it just was very different, but the learning curve was huge. So I very much took Pilates and dropped it into the yoga room. And from that developed the Yogalates. So it has very much been a passion of mine for, feels like my whole life. And I love delivering it. I also work with my colleague now, Nicole, who has trained in 2003, and she has equal amount of passion, a phenomenal understanding of anatomy, and her background is just a wealth of knowledge. And the two of us together have developed a phenomenal course that we're very proud of, to be part of and to share.
Louise already, having been a student. Nick I'd never met before, and then Tracy, one of our other teacher trainers, and they're all quite different. They all come from a different speciality and a different place, like passion-wise. So it was really good having more than one teacher, just to round out that sort of learning experience.